What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Marketing Stream. It's been a long time. I'm Jason Pantana, and we are back, and I got a bunch of questions to get through today. So if you're watching live right now on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, just drop a comment if you would. Let me know that you're here, that you're watching. If you have a question, the goal of this show is to get through as many questions as possible, all things related to marketing. And it's good to be back with you guys today. So if you're on, just give me a thumbs up, give me a like, give me a heart, and drop in your questions, and I'll try to get to those later on. But let me go through what we're gonna cover today. So I got 9 questions I'm gonna try to get through in the next 45 minutes to an hour. I'm gonna talk about the best monthly schedule to stay in touch with your sphere of influence. I'm gonna talk about, this is a great question, how to get real leads versus fake leads. I'm going to talk about how to brand yourself and stand out from the crowd, how to escape that sea of sameness. We'll talk about what's better, building a website versus building a social media presence. We'll talk about top 5 things for a website to convert more effectively. We're going to talk about using social media managers, schedulers like Hootsuite and things like that. So we've got a lot in store. We're going to talk about Google's recent personalized ad changes, that is their fair housing changes. So as real estate professionals in North America, we're now subject to housing provisions. That came out on October 19th. We're going to talk about how it works, what we know about it, how it's maybe different from Facebook. We're going to talk about becoming the digital mayor and specifically video series in terms of who you should interview. And then last, we'll talk about formatting videos more effectively for IGTV. What's going on, Tom? It's good to see you, man. Good vibes back to you. I'm looking at your comments. And with that being said, I'm kind of in a work mode today, so let's just get cranking. First question up. And again, for those of you watching, please give me a thumbs up, give me a heart, give me a like, give me a comment. Let's try to get this thing algorithmically lifted up so we can get marketing information to as many folks as possible to help them succeed in their businesses. First question up is, what's the best monthly touch schedule for with my SOI, Sphere of Influence? And so for those of you, hey, I got a like. Thanks for my first like. Appreciate it. For those of you who are in real estate, Sphere of Influence basically means friends, family, acquaintances, people you know and they know you, right? Your relationships, your social, personal sphere or network of influence. And so here's my answer to this one. It says, what's the best monthly touch schedule? First and foremost, multi-channel. So Team Sir West, if you're looking at this, if you're watching this, I would write down multi-channel. No matter what the lead source is, multi-channel, because here's the deal. When people see you on multiple platforms, online, offline, etc., when they see you like that, it becomes infinitely more valuable because they're seeing you cross-channel, cross-platform. That's got a lot of juice to it. So here's what I wrote down, and I'm going to go pretty quick on this one. First one is a weekly email. I know a lot of agents send out a monthly newsletter. I'm calling for weekly newsletters, and really not newsletters, because I'm not a huge fan of emails. Like when a lot of agents hire some company to send some email on their behalf, and it's not really from them. It's not your content. So when I say a weekly email, I basically mean a weekly email digest, whereby we are sharing all the content you're producing across social media through an email. And I recommend weekly because typically we see in our ecosystem of Tom Ferry coaching clients, we've seen open rates and engagement go up. What's going on, Melissa from Panama? Good to have you here. We're seeing open rates and engagement go up when you're sending weekly. So don't spam people, but for your own sphere of influence, weekly emails, massively packed with value, is the way I go. Number 2 is weekly promoted content on social. So ideally, your sphere of influence is connected with you on social. So I think it goes without saying, like, social media has got to be a critical piece of this. In my mind, in 2020, 2021, like, marketing is content marketing. If you're not producing content, if you're not leveraging social media, then I would dare say you're really not marketing. So what's the content you're producing across social media? And then specifically with the best performing content, let's pay to play. So that means literally going into your Facebook ads manager, creating an ad to promote your best piece of content. I suppose you could say boosting it, but the reason I say going into your ads manager is because by doing that, you can actually upload a CSV file. I've trained on it many times before. You can upload a CSV file, which is a spreadsheet, straight into your Facebook Ads Manager. That's a list of all your database contacts, your sphere of influence contacts, and you can target them directly. And so I'm like, if I can directly put my content, rather your content, in front of them, to me that's a no-brainer. Boosting it just means it's going to boost everybody, anybody, and everybody. There's very limited targeting. But in the Ads Manager of Facebook, you can target. Specifically, I can make sure my content is seen by my sphere of influence. Because to me, most agents that I'm working with put a whole lot of effort into creating content that's useful and valuable. And man, what a shame it is if you create that content and nobody sees it. So ergo, you should put money behind it, because if we're paying to promote that content through the Ads Manager, ideally on Facebook, which includes Instagram, then we're essentially saying if these people get on Facebook and Instagram, and if the contact information I have for them is the same as what Facebook has for them, they can see my content. So far it's a weekly email and it's content targeting on Facebook and Instagram. The next thing on my list is a monthly mailer. This could just be like if you're sending mail to a farm. It could be just listed just sold, but it's just your mail. Whatever you're sending out to your farm is probably fine once a month. It could be a newsletter that you hand write. It could vary, but they should be. But this way they're getting inbox, mailbox, social media feeds. They're seeing you everywhere. And then the last thing I've got down is quarterly calls and text messages. And you can decide, do I want to do a text? Do I want to do a call? What makes the most sense based upon my relationship with this person? But think about the power of that. Like, we've gone multi-channel at this point. So they get emails weekly. They're getting monthly mailers. They're seeing me on social organically, and I'm paying to promote myself to ensure that they're seeing me on social. Because we know, like, organically, even if you do everything right and you optimize your content, there's still a lot of people in your sphere who may be fans of yours on your page. They may see you on your personal profile, whatever, but that doesn't mean they're going to see everything you post. So we have to make sure that they're seeing the content. Otherwise, it's not really doing us much of any good. And then the last piece is call them, text them, be in front of them, build a relationship. So that's my thought here on the monthly touch schedule for your sphere of influence. Let's keep rolling. By the way, if you're watching, you got a question that we're not covering today, just drop it in the comments. I'd love to see if I can take a crack at it and be helpful. Next one up is what's working to get real, i.e. not fake leads. What's working to get real? I love this question, Alvin. And by the way, if you guys ever want to submit a question, I haven't done a marketing stream in about a month. I typically put the questions, I do an Ask Me Anything story sticker on my Instagram stories. So just Jason Pantana, watch my stories. I'll typically throw that out a day or two before I do one of these, just to source some questions. I like to have time to research if I need to, just to make sure I'm not giving completely knee-jerk responses, that there's some level of analysis going into my answers. You can see I've typed up notes to all your questions because I really like the opportunity to try to answer them if I can. So the question here is, what's working to get real, i.e. not fake leads? I'm going to take a guess, Alvin. When we say, like, the implication here is you're getting low quality leads, meaning, how did you get this number? How did you get this email address? Oh, it wasn't me. This is somebody else's information, right? And I'm going to take a big guess that says a lot of those are coming from probably low reputation lead sources and this is going to be daring for me to say, Facebook. Facebook can tend to produce lower intent leads. There's a reason why leads are way cheaper on Facebook than on Google or on Zillow, for instance. And generally because the leads are of lower intent. Think about it for a second. How do most people generate leads on Facebook? They typically, like, let's just pretend they run an ad on Facebook and it's something like, what's your home worth in whatever area of town it is? And then people are just surfing through Facebook, they're scrolling through the feed, seeing what's going on, and then they see that option come up. They're like, I wonder what my house is worth. And they click the button. They don't know. They don't know that they're signing up for, they don't know what they're doing half the time, and it's so automated, especially if you're using lead form ads on Facebook, which I'm a fan of. But the lead form ads, if they click the button, literally it auto-populates the information they gave to Facebook to create their account. And they just click next. They don't understand what they're agreeing to. Or if they've changed the information to like somebody else, you can get lower intent leads. So let me just rattle off real quick, Alvin. Here's where I'm seeing my Tom Ferry coaching clients have success right now in terms of getting higher intent leads who want to talk to agents where there's really a viable opportunity. I got a pretty long list. I wrote down, first and foremost, past client, center of influence, referrals. So if you're not working your past clients in sphere of influence for referrals or repeat opportunities, you're missing what is, I think the biggest opportunity in real estate. This is a database relationship-driven business, so massively work those for referrals right now. I'm seeing my clients, as to be expected, having huge success right now with their database. Number 2 on my list is PPC, which stands for pay per click. That means Google ads, pretty much, pay per click. Hey, Tim Gosnell, what's going on, man? Tim, who's one of my best buddies from school, would love for me to talk through my studio setup and what gear and software I'm using. I'll do that next, Tim, as soon as I finish this question. It's good to see you, buddy. I would love to do that because I'm a total nerd, and I'd love to talk about that. Back to my squirrel brain. Back to where to get real leads, not fake leads. Past client center of influence referrals. I said that. PPC, which is Google leads. Now, why Google leads versus, say, Facebook leads? Well, remember the example I gave a second ago with Facebook. I'm surfing through the feed on my Facebook news feed. Oh, what's my home worth? I wonder. I click the button, and then before I know it, I've submitted my contact info, and I didn't even know about it. I was just, kicks and giggles. Versus on Google, chances are with Google, I went onto Google and I said, homes for sale in Nashville, homes for sale in San Antonio. I did something like that, meaning there was intent in my search. And it was because of those keywords, that specific search query that I used on Google, that triggered the ad to show up. And so there's intent. I was looking for homes on purpose. So I would tell you, and also PPC, it's been really low cost per lead right now for the last 6+ months. And I would say that's partly because people are home a lot more. They've been searching for homes. We've definitely seen search activity go up. And it also means we probably have seen people who are just searching, they're not really that serious, increase too. So as cost per lead goes down, generally, unless you're just bad at running lead generating ads, generally as cost per lead goes down, intent generally goes down with it. If cost per lead goes up, assuming it's a quality ad, intent typically goes up. In other words, you get what you pay for. But PPC is certainly a place I'm looking. YouTube search. So as I'm doing business planning with a lot of my clients in 2021, we're really looking at YouTube search. I'm getting a lot of clients. They're creating pros and cons of living in this area, best neighborhoods for under a certain price point in this area. And as people are moving, this is especially true if you're like in a suburban market or if you're in a high relocation market where people are leaving and they're coming to your market area and they're going on YouTube. YouTube's one of the most popular search engines on the planet right now, and it's owned by Google. It's a critical place for search that's happening right now organically. So I would tell you, like, if you're into video marketing, and if you're not, you should be, but if you're doing video marketing, start thinking about what would people be searching for on YouTube with respect to living in my area. And if you need a tool, you could use TubeBuddy or vidIQ. Those can plug into your YouTube and give you some kind of search tools to figure out what are the keywords people are searching so you can build content that is specific to their exact searches. So definitely YouTube search. I wrote down agent to agent and vendor referrals. Are you working with title, escrow, loan officers, credit unions? Are you working with vendors in your industry for referrals? Are you networking with agents through the Tom Ferry ecosystem, through your brand, through whatever alliances or Facebook groups, lab coat agents, IGTV, whatever? Are you working with agents all over the place to make sure that they know you're their designated agent in a specific market for any relocation happening? I continue to see strong agent-to-agent referrals, and I got to tell you, one of the biggest places I'm seeing it is Instagram. I've had people ask me before. They'll say things like, "How do I get people other than real estate agents to follow me on Instagram?" And I'm like, boy, they're the ones you want, right? Because Instagram, if you're looking at anybody who's really killing it on Instagram, usually, not always, usually, barring, I'll give you the exception in a second. Usually, they're killing it on Instagram with agent-to-agent referrals. So as you're creating content for consumers, you're really creating it for agents. They love it, and they're going to rip off and duplicate what you're doing, and you're going to get, hey, a DM, hey, my buddy's moving, or I know somebody who's moving here or listing and selling there, and you're going to start getting referral opportunities. The other thing I would say is if you're in a really strong relocation market, like maybe there's military relo or a big employer or whatever, then you might start to see some more like actual consumer activity coming in as far as Instagram leads go. But I would tell you agent-to-agent referrals and vendor referrals, and really look to Instagram to be a big piece of how you fuel that in 2021. Next thing on the list I wrote down is buyer-seller webinars. So Christopher is right. Agent referrals are everything. You were the one I was thinking about, Krista, because you and Aaron are absolutely dominating with agent-to-agent referrals through Instagram. So that's got to be a piece of where you're getting quality leads right now. By the way, if you need to send referrals to anybody in Spokane, Washington, Aaron and Christopher are the way to go. Next thing on my list here is buyer-seller webinars. I'm thinking of Dave Robles. He's in Glendale, Los Angeles. Dave Robles, since all the COVID stuff started happening, he got really serious about doing seller webinars inside of his geographic farm area, just promoting on Facebook, using Zoom, that kind of a thing. But I got to tell you, like, he's getting massive brand awareness, number one, in his marketplace because he's being positioned as the expert, the trusted local authority, but he's also getting leads. People are literally going on to listen to him talk about buying and selling a house for an hour. Let's talk about intent. Who sits through a webinar on buying or selling? I mean, Dave's amazing, but if you're going to sit through an hour webinar, my goodness, this is easy to do. And what a lot of clients are doing right now is they're using tools like EverWebinar, where they're pre-recording their webinars and they're just kind of letting them roll evergreen all the time. And they're just generating leads, which we've talked about this before at some of our Tom Ferry events, like the summit, we talked about this. But I would tell you, if you want some real leads, boy, they don't come more real than that. If they're willing to sit through a webinar for an hour, that's intent. Next thing on my list is Zillow, Realtor, just so third-party search portals, Zillow Leads, Premier Agent, Realtor.com, Trulia, maybe a little bit of Homes.com, a little bit. They're still quality lead sources. I would still keep in mind, look, about 2/3 of all buyers are sellers. I'll say it again. About 2/3 of all buyers are sellers. And so you're probably thinking like, hey, how do I get more seller leads? Because if I get Zillow, presumably they found a house they want to go see because they're buying a house. And so how do I get more than just that? And the answer is you say, hey, do you have a home you need to sell? Because I can do that too. I think that too many agents do not have the right follow-up sequences that are designed to ask their leads, do you also need to sell a home? So I would talk about Zillow and Realtor being great sources, but listen, you're paying for it. They're high intent leads. They're pretty darn, no lead is perfect. Every lead source, you're converting a small percentage of all the leads. Notwithstanding, with Zillow, they're about as low hanging fruit, really, other than a referral that you're going to find. Next on my list is expired listings. I'm not going to go into detail, but we got clients. Some markets are more ripe for expired listings than others, but man, we got some clients just crushing it with expired listings. We're specifically seeing some new techniques that are working pretty darn well, whereby it's not just cold calling expireds. And of course, be mindful of the do not call registry and the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. Don't violate any of that stuff. But we're seeing clients in our ecosystem of coaching members have a lot of success with more automated marketing campaigns. Custom audience retargeting through Facebook and Instagram and Google Display Network and YouTube and BombBomb videos, and really just reaching out to them in a more marketing focused way and getting them to kind of raise their hand and say, I'm interested in what you're doing. Tell me how you're doing this, because I would imagine this to be a super cool strategy for actually finding a buyer for my listing to sell. So expireds. Of course, for sale by owners, you can include that too. Next on my list is circle dialing. You asked me for real leads. I'm giving them to you. Circle dialing. Once again, mindful of the DNC and the TCPA. Don't violate any rules, local or otherwise. But calling around your listings. Hey, did you know your neighbor's property just sold in 3 days over asking price? Wow, it's been a really hot market. You don't say, do you? And then conversations are starting to unfold. If you're willing to work the phones, if you're willing to roll up your sleeves, as I do, because it's hot in my office right now, if you're willing to do the work, there are massive opportunities with circle prospecting or circle dialing or call knocking or whatever word you want to give to it. It's the same thing. If you're looking for software to pull that off, you look at Mojo, look at Cole Realty Resource, use Remind. There's lots of tools out there. Talk to your title rep about it, and don't break the rules. DNC and the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, absentee owners, or you might call them non-owner occupieds. Are you marketing to them right now? One of the scripts we've been using with our clients with absentee owners is you can mail them a letter. You can reach out to them in whatever way you're allowed to. But the script is basically, hey, we've seen home prices in X market increase by X%, which based upon what your home is probably worth between here and there, given the range of value, that means you're standing on about, I don't know, how much equity is that? So you basically, the conversation is work out with them a rough estimate of how much equity they have in the property. and then ask the question, they're absentee, remember that, they're absentee owners, they're landlords. And then ask the question, how many months of rent would you have to collect to add up to what you could make if you sold the house today? And they're going to be like, well, gee, I don't know, 10 years to do that? And if you had the money right now, where would you reinvest that? That's an interesting dialogue for an absentee owner to think about, what are my opportunities? Is now a good time to divest of this property and maybe reinvest in other type like multifamily or something else? Last one on my list is old/nurture leads. Just go through your old leads. Make sure you're working your old leads through pretty much the plan I gave on the last question. That weekly email, are you in front of your old leads? Are you reaching out to them periodically to check in and see how they're doing? I continually have clients say, I got another deal, I got a buyer, I got a seller, because I worked my old leads. I've been in touch for 2 years, 3 years, whatever. Just keep in mind, you get all those old leads. When was the last time you reached out to them just to check in and see where they're at and what they're looking to do and how you can plug in and be useful to them? Okay, I think we answered that question. Marlene, I see your question about Google Ads. I'm going to get to this one here. Yes, I see you're sad. It's all changed. It has, sort of. We're going to talk about that. Tim Gosnell, let's talk about my gear. Let me see if I can figure out how to do this real quick. Can y'all bear with me for a quick second? I can show you what I got going on here, but it's going to take me just a quick second to do that. Do a quick little gear walkthrough, but I'm going to have to kind of rig this to make it work. So bear with me. Screen mirroring, yes. I'm going to screen mirror on my Mac, yes. It's coming, here it goes. We're waiting for it. In the meantime, somebody tell a joke in the comments. All right, 3308. All right, let's see. I think my internet's going to be rather slow. Okay, it did it. Let me share my screen for you guys real fast. And then I'm going to show you what I got in here. How do I do that? Share screen. Share the entire screen. Very good. Let's make this larger. How do I do full screen? Full screen. All right, you guys should be seeing my phone, sort of. All right, so Tim asked me, like, what's all the equipment I'm using right now? And I'm going to attempt, let me just make sure that you guys do see things properly. Yeah, you do. So Tim wants to know what's the equipment I'm using here in my office. So I'll just go through it real quick. I've got my MacBook Pro right here in the middle. I've got a Rodecaster Pro. This is my soundboard, and it's got the sound effects. So I use sound effects here. My computer audio's here. This thing's pretty fun because I can actually have my phone hooked up on Bluetooth. So somebody could literally call in and I could have a phone conversation like it's a radio show. I've never done that, but I could do that. You can record podcast audio, which I forgot to press record. Crud. You can record podcast audio right there. My microphone is right here. This is a Rode NTG2. It's a condenser mic with an XLR, and it goes straight into my soundboard, which goes into my computer. This is my secondary camera over here that I'm not using today. This is my primary camera right there, and that is a Sony a6400 mirrorless camera, and it's coming into my computer right here through a USB. Underneath this thing, down there, is a Camlink. It's an Elgato Camlink 4K. That's the adapter, that's the encoder that allows me to bring the DSLR, not DSLR, it's actually a mirrorless camera into a computer. I've got aperture lighting. So this is the 120D Mark II with the mini light dome on it for light diffusion. This is I don't remember what it is, the 672. It's one of the LED panels, and I've got this 35-degree angle grid light diffusion on it. And it's got a newer anchor to my desk pole so that I can try to save space in here. And then this guy here is a Stream Deck. This is just like a button command. I can program it to do. It can open certain, if I click this, it'll open Instagram. I can make it open links. I can make it, if I'm using Zoom, I've got different settings. But I use this for like when I'm doing a live presentation. And I'm going back and forth between live demonstrations and a PowerPoint. And I can jump around without dead time. So that's a pretty fast rundown of what I've got in here. So it's computer, soundboard, microphone, lights, camera one, camera 2, and the Stream Deck. And then I've got the uplift standing desk. And that's that. So let's go back over here. And I couldn't see what y'all were doing, so... Tim Gosnell, what do you call a fly with no wings? I have no idea, man. What do you call a fly with no wings? A walk. Oh, that's right. I asked for a joke. I forgot I asked for a joke. Thank you, Tim Gosnell, for killing the dead time with your joke. You're the freaking man. Hope you're well, buddy. Let me go back to the questions. Next one up is, when making a brand for yourself, how do you make it stand out and not look basic? I love that question, because the irony is the word basic means fundamental, necessary, essential. But I know what you mean. You mean like not look everyday plain, the sea of sameness, look like everybody else, not stand out, not garner attention. I wrote down a few things. First thing I write down is, and this is for S. Clement 4, first things first, you have to define your unique selling proposition. Are you clear in terms of what you do for consumers in your marketplace? What makes you stand out? What makes you special? Everybody in your industry buys and sells houses, or rather assists in doing that. No kidding. That's a very external problem. What's the real thing you do differently? And with our coaching clients, as we're business planning, the way we're doing it is we walk through like a USP, a unique selling proposition, has 3 parts. And this is basically you can fill in the blanks. It goes, you know how problem, where you state the customer's problem they've got, they don't want. You know how problem, well, what I do is proposition. So it's problem, proposition. So it goes, you know how problem, well, what I do is proposition so that you can pay off. So it's 3 parts: problem, proposition, the payoff. In other words, what's their problem that they don't want? What's the proposition you offer to reduce that problem, mitigate it, solve it, whatever? And then what's the payoff to the consumer when they don't have that problem anymore? So I would literally get pen and paper and spell that out, because whatever that is, it's going to be reflected in all your marketing. So the first thing is, if you want to stand out from the rest of the crowd, actually know what it is you do. What problem do you solve that a customer has and they don't want? Next thing I wrote down, and this is more around like social media content, because I'm guessing what you're asking is, how do I make myself look from a branding, aesthetics, style standpoint, look different than the rest? So I wrote down vary your media. So pictures, videos, quote cards, graphics, vary it. I was actually looking on your page, and it looks a lot of the same stuff. All of your photos had kind of the same filter, the same look. I would mix it up a little bit, and there's an algorithmic reason for doing that, because the way the Instagram algorithm works, and Facebook's, but especially Instagram, they keep in mind what users prefer historically in terms of their interactions and engagements media-wise. So like, for example, I tend to see a lot of video when I scroll through my Instagram and Facebook news feeds, because I tend to watch video. So what you watch, what you engage with expands in your feed. And so if all you do is photos and no video, just for instance, then whatever portion of your following actually likes video content never sees your content, because Instagram is showing them other people's posts that use videos. So the moral of the story is mix it up, have variety, quote cards, graphics, photos with text over them and images overlays, videos, low grade, pro grade, in between, mix it up. The next thing I wrote down is homemade always tastes better than canned. I think you're doing a pretty good job of this, but I do see a lot of agents where they've got kind of canned content on their social. They're repurposing some other third party's content. It's not coming from their voice. Your brand is your voice, it's your mind, it's your heart, what you care about, and it's your face. It's you, it's your point of view. And so if you're not creating the content for your brand, then really somebody is seeing somebody else's brand. So I would say make sure that you're sourcing the content. And what's more, this is also an issue I see with a lot of teams where they've got so many listings, and this is a good problem, but it seems like their feed is nothing but listings. Now, I'm not one of those guys who says don't post listings. Post listings, by all means. Just if it's only listings, then you're going to be the same as everybody else. You've got to vary the content, oscillate it, and so forth. We teach in our digital domination event as well as our marketing edge events through Tom Ferry Coaching. We teach what's called a content balance wheel, where we recommend that agents have 5 different topics or themes they cover in terms of all their content across all their social channels. Get ready to write. The first one is real me. If it's a team, it would be real us, but real me, what do I care about? Hobbies, family, job, who is the real me? The second one is knowledge broker. The third one is hyper local. The fourth one is agent behind the scenes. And then the last one is social proof. So in other words, validation that you're good at what you do. But you need to have balance between those 5 topics, and that's going to help you stand out as the agent of choice. I hope that makes sense. The last thing I wrote down is it's really all about engagement. If you're driving comments, if people are commenting on what you're sharing across social media, nothing you're doing is basic. If you actually have the ability to get people to engage with your content, then it's not basic. Next one up. Who wins? This is a fun question. Thank you, Agent Gabs. Who wins? A website or a go-to social media platform, which I would presume you're thinking like Facebook or Instagram or maybe LinkedIn or whatever. And here's what I wrote down. If your goal is straight up lead generation, I'm going to go with a website because chances are, like most leads, how are they generated? Search for homes, what's your home worth? At the end of the day, in real estate, the thing the consumer is buying or selling is a house. And so lead generation tends to occur around houses. Therefore, you need some kind of an IDX, Internet Data Exchange, basically a home search website where the consumer can search for homes on your site. So I would say just easy, simple. If you're looking to generate leads, people who want to buy and sell homes, a website. If you're looking to build a brand, and what else did I write down here? If you're looking to build a brand, I would say social media. Now, of course, I don't like forced dilemmas, and you've created a forced dilemma in this question. You can have both. In fact, you should have both. I don't know that I would say that it's one or the other, but you asked the question, I'm going to try to answer it as best as I can. If you want to build really your brand and you're going to let people come to you and say, I want to work with you because you're a great agent, then I would advise going to where they already are. They already are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever, versus trying to get them on my website to like me. So if I just want to get them to like me, stay top of mind, you got to be on social. This is why you have to have both. This is why you need brand and lead generation, brand and direct response, website and social media. Hope that makes sense. I'm probably just talking with big words, but I hope that makes sense. All right, let's keep rolling. Next one up is number 5, coincidentally, top 5 things you need for your website to convert. Brant Graves asked this question. Top 5 things you need for your website to convert. Here's what I wrote down. Number 1, mobile ready and fast loading. So Brant, I hope you're listening. If you're listening, just give me a thumbs up that you're listening in the comments. It needs to be mobile ready and fast loading. If it's not, it's not going to convert. In fact, I saw a stat, Neil Patel was talking about this, and he was based upon some study, that for every second of load time, your conversion rate decreases by like 7%. So if it takes me one extra, now he's probably talking mostly about like e-commerce sites, but really for an IDX home search website, this would apply there too, I think. So the stat is for every second it takes to load a web page, you're decreasing your conversion by 7%. I think Walmart was the study. I'm going off memory. They figured out how to make their website faster loading, and their sales went way through the roof based upon just doing that one little thing. So number 1 is mobile ready and fast loading. Number 2 is dialed in CTAs, calls to action. So headlines, your bullet points, your buttons that they click on, really dial in your calls to action. What is the thing you want someone to do on your website? Something that drives, like I'm a big fan of Donald Miller. Donald Miller talks about, he wrote the book, Building a Story Brand. And he has his latest book, which is Marketing Made Simple. And it really is a simple read. It's good. It's a simple read. But what's the thing I want you to do? Don't confuse me with multiple calls to action. You get a primary call to action, and Donald Miller would teach then a transitional call to action, which is basically your, will you marry me? That's your big call to action. If no, would you go on a date with me? That's a transitional call to action. But I would say dial in your calls to action, your headlines, your text, your bullets. Make it unbelievably clear what you want me as a website visitor to do on that website. Number 3 is check your authority. So videos, blogs, resources, testimonials. Am I going to get a sense of, are you going to be validated? as an expert? Are you going to have authority in your domain, your space, real estate? If I go to your website, how do you have authority? Well, are you writing helpful blogs? Are there good resources, white papers, ebooks, whatever, videos I can watch? Are there testimonials from past clients? Am I going to get the sense that you're the real deal? And if I'm not, I have a better chance of bouncing and going to find somebody who really can offer those perks to me. Number 4 is an intuitive UI UX. What does that mean? UI is a user interface. UX is a user experience. In other words, make sure your website doesn't suck. Make sure it's easy to use, that it's logical, that it's laid out, that I can click and maneuver in a way that makes sense. If it's cluttered up and messy and gross, it's not going to convert. If it's clean and logical and a great, easy, intuitive design, it's going to work better. Now, the good news in real estate is there are tons of great website providers out there. There's Boomtown, there's Ylopo, Firepoint, Commissions Inc., Chime, Easy Agent Pro, Real Geeks. I'm missing a bunch. They're out there. But there's a lot of great website providers. So most of this is covered in those. However, just make sure, like, as you're adding text, as you're adding images and videos, that it's not going to get too muddied up, that it's clear. Last thing on my list is succinct form fills. So if you're trying to lead generate, you're asking for people's information. The more information you ask for, the more people who will bounce. The less information you ask for, the more people who will complete the form, i.e. the more leads you'll get. So if you ask me for just an email address versus an email, a phone, a name, or whatever, obviously I'm going to get fewer leads by asking more information. Now here's the deal. We also talked about as cost per lead goes down, the quality goes down. That is, the intent goes down with it. As cost per lead goes up, presumably the intent goes up too. And intent means they actually want to talk to you. They're more serious about what they're doing. Therefore, it's a better quality lead based upon intent. So if I ask a bunch of questions like, are you working with an agent? What's your name? What's your phone number? Do you have a home you need to sell? Obviously, I'm going to weed people out who have lower intent. So it's okay to have longer form fills if you're looking for high intent. But if you just want to convert and get more people on your list, whatever, make it easy. The more you ask, the more people who won't convert. Let me just peek at the comments real quick, see if there's anything else going on here. Nope. But Tim, if you got any more jokes, man, bring them on. Anybody else too. Number 6. Do you use social media managers or schedulers to post across the board? So you're thinking of services like Hootsuite, Planoly, Later, Buffer, those types of tools. I personally do not. I really don't have any qualms with them. However, a lot of people say they don't impact your reach. I don't know that that's true. I think they do impact your reach. I think they may not hurt it at first, but I think over time they will damage your reach. I've come across research. Neil Patel has put it out. I've seen research that supports that claim. I don't have any of my own empirical evidence that if you use a third-party tool, it's going to hurt you. I will tell you, it certainly makes things more efficient. If you're struggling for consistency, then I would say, what's the bigger evil here? Inconsistency in posting, or maybe a slightly reduced reach? Well, if I'm not posting, my reach is way reduced. So therefore, I'll just take this thing because it's better than nothing. So I don't have any massive issues with these tools. Again, the biggies are Hootsuite, Planoly, Later, Sprout Social, Buffer. They're the big ones. There are some others out there too that are a little bit more probably like pro grade. But I would tell you to look at the free tools too. Just for example, on YouTube, you can schedule your videos built into YouTube. On your Facebook page, you can schedule your posts. In the Facebook Creator Studio, which if you Google that if you don't know what it is, but the Creator Studio, I can schedule my Instagram posts and I can schedule my Facebook posts. So I guess my thought is if I can use tools that are owned and operated and employed by the actual platforms themselves, Facebook, Instagram, and so forth, I'm going to probably have less of an impact to my reach by doing that. So that's my thought. Let's jump to number 7. This is a biggie. Google's recent targeting changes, i.e. they're called personalized ads. So on Facebook last year rolled out their special ad categories, housing, employment, credit. Basically what happened is the National Fair Housing Alliance here in the States sued Facebook because they were enabling advertisers who were subject to fair housing laws and different types of equal opportunity laws. They were basically enabling those advertisers to violate those laws in their targeting. And so Facebook got sued, they lost, and they had to roll out what they called the special ad categories. Then HUD and others went and investigated Google, and so Google on October 19th of this year rolled out their new change. It's also housing employment credit, the affected industries, and they call theirs personalized ads. It's a little bit different. It's the same, but it's different. You see, what's different about it is in Facebook, you have to declare a special ad category. You literally check a little box and it says this is a special ad category. And then what it does is it basically puts locks on all the like child-proof locks, what you can and can't do inside their ads manager. Google just tells you after the fact, this ad is denied because it's targeting based upon housing or something like that, and therefore you can't do that. So with Google, you just have to know what you can and can't do before you do anything, which is what we're going to talk about today. I want to read the question. So Dusty said, I think I misspelled your name, Dusty. It's Realtor, if anybody wants to follow her. My bad. She said, Google's recent targeting changes, personalized ads, seems to have affected my audiences. Additionally, my cost per click, CPC is cost per click, went up, and my click-through rate went down. How do I fix / work around this? So normally I said when your cost per click goes up, I normally said that means that, I said cost per lead goes up. It means your intent goes up with it. This is a little bit different. This is basically telling us cost per click and click-through rate. What is, let's be nerds for a quick second. What's a click-through rate? A click-through rate is if 1,000 people see my ad and 100 people actually click on my ad, i.e. they click on the call to action button, then I have a 10% click-through rate because 100 out of 1,000 actually took the offer and clicked it. So my click-through rate is 10%. What we're seeing now is, obviously, so if her click-through rate goes down, then her cost per click goes up because it means if I had 100 people clicking it and now I've got 1,000 people who see it and I'm paying for impressions, so 1,000 people saw it, I'm still paying for that, but only 50 people clicked it, my cost per click just doubled. Does that make sense? I hope it does. That's what it is. So these two things are, they're tied together. They're like a balance kind of a thing. What it basically implies is the wrong people are seeing your ads. That's pretty much what it implies. Because generally, you'll have a higher click-through rate when the ad is more relevant to the audience you're targeting. That's not surprising, because if you were targeting content that was looking for people specifically going for housing or those types of interest or intent, I'm not surprised by that. Or if it was super hyper-local and you can't target by zip codes anymore, then I could see where that's happening. So let's talk about what's going on. I'm going to, once again, share my screen. I have some links open. I will put these links in the description on YouTube when we're done with the video. So it's got to go through the whole rendering, but I'll put them up there for you guys to see these links. Or you can just Google it. I'm literally in support.google on their ads policies. So update the personalized advertising policies, housing employment credit, October 2020. And it says on October 19th, it will update. Rather, now it has updated. It's personalized advertising policies. Now, it's had personalized advertising policies, this tab here, for a long time. You can't target people like alcohol or gambling or location-based gambling. It's had all these things for a long time in their policies. They've now expanded them. So examples of impacted products and services include, but are not limited to, that's nice. I love that, not limited to, which means we may still reject your ad, we just don't know why yet. Housing is the one we're looking at right now. So what means housing? How are they going to constitute housing? So it's any ad where the focus or the intention is housing listing websites. That's you. Individual houses for sale or rentals. That's you. Or real estate services. That's everything you ever do. So pretty much everything you do on Google is now subject to this. So what does it mean? So in an effort to improve inclusivity, for users disproportionately affected by societal biases, housing, employment, and credit products or services can no longer be targeted to audiences based on, here it is, gender, which you shouldn't have been doing anyways. Age, not really effective, and you shouldn't have been doing it in some places anyways. Parental status, that's familial status. You shouldn't have been doing that anyways. Marital status, you shouldn't have been doing that anyways. So far, you shouldn't have been doing any of these anyways. Or, and this is the kicker, zip code. Or zip code. So basically what I would recommend, now, if you are in a densely populated area, this tends to be more of an impact to you. If you're in a more spread out rural, suburban area, this is probably not going to make much of a difference to you. Really, because we have a lot of, having done this with clients, if I have clients who are selling in Holland, Michigan versus clients who are selling in a certain part of Chicago where the population density is really varied, the ads are so much more ubiquitous to that smaller, more spread out rural area than they are to a densely populated area. So the zip code thing doesn't really affect you much. It really, in terms of performance, it really won't. If you're in a more suburban, spread out rural area, densely populated areas, it tends to be an impact. Now, I have not tested this, but what's not listed here is, okay, I can't do zip codes. Can I do a 1 mile radius? So I haven't tested that yet. Because the difference here is on Facebook, and I'm going to go, let me just peek at the chat and make sure you guys aren't like losing your minds or anything. I want to read Tim's comment in a second. I'll look at that in a second. On Facebook, you have to specify that special ad category on the front end, which means you're locked out of certain features. On Google, you're not. They're just going to flag it if they're going to flag it. So I don't know, Dusty. That would be my thought, to go test that and see what happens at your own risk, of course. So if you click on this, it opens up their actual personalized advertising policies and data collection, what you can and can't do. I really would recommend reading this, because what you don't want to do is get in bad standing with Google. So I would read this. And then in the ads portal, ads.google.com, if you scroll to the bottom, there's literally a 1-800 number. You can call them and talk to them and just ask them questions if you want to know more. And then the last link I'll include is what to include in your privacy policy for remarketing. They're going to be, I think, a bit more sticky on this. So if you're going to be using a Google global site tag or a Facebook pixel and you're going to remarket people based upon they've been on your website or certain pages or taken certain actions, I would look at this here in terms of what you can and can't do, or rather, what you need to say in your privacy policy. Okay, let me stop my share. I want to go look and see what Tim said. Tim, who, by the way, Tim's my buddy. He runs a digital marketing agency. So I'm listening to what he says. Tim says, I have a theory that scheduled content by nature is a little less in the moment, which makes it less engaging. I agree 100%. But I also think the scheduling tools, you also think the scheduling tools hurt you. I do too. I've heard plenty of people anecdotally and empirically say, Neil Patel is the only one who's really referenced studies about this that I've seen. But a lot of people, I've heard that a lot of people are like, you don't see any damage at first, but wait a couple weeks. And then the scheduling tools start to take their toll. So my thought is, back to that scheduling question, if I use a social media scheduler, I would try my best to use the tools that Facebook, YouTube, Google give me. Not Google, they're not a social network. Facebook, LinkedIn, if they get like Instagram, what they give me, use those. All right, let me get back to the questions. I got a couple more for us, if I can find where I put them. Who are the best people to interview locally to become the local digital mayor? So first and foremost, interview, we're talking about videos. I love this kind of content. We talked about the 5 types of content for the content balance wheel. Real me, hyper local. This really speaks to that. Knowledge broker speaks to that too. Agent behind the scenes, social proof. Those are our 5 categories of content that we need to be thematically addressing in what we produce across our social channels. So who are the best people to interview locally to become the local digital mayor? I said small business owners, gyms, or rather the owners of gyms or employees of gyms, nonprofits or causes that you care about locally, boutique retailers, etc. This is, to me, this question is, it depends upon where you live. I'd be interviewing anybody who is doing anything interesting in your local community that citizens of that community would want to or should know about. That's what I do. I would look at what Jeannie Shea is doing. That's JENNIE Anishea. She's in Alabama. She does some great content around this. Also, Katie Day. She's in Texas, Houston, Texas. Katie Day. I think it's moved to TX, Texas on her Instagram. She makes great content around this too. So I would look at Katie Day and Jeannie Shea. They're making good stuff. Last question, then I'm going to look at the comments. So if you have a question, drop it in. We're running low on time. The question is, having troubles formatting my videos to fit properly in IGTV. So I don't really know exactly what trouble you're having, so I'm going to assume things, which the good news is I assume things all the time. So I'm the king of assumption. So therefore, I'm going to make this assumption. I'm going to state the rules on IGTV. First and foremost, what is IGTV? Well, Instagram videos can only be 60 seconds long, and Instagram is squares. They're squares on the feed. So they wanted videos that are longer than 60 seconds, so they made IGTV, Instagram TV. And what they do is they allow you to put videos that are like 10 minutes long. Once you reach a certain, I think once you get over 10,000 followers, you can do like up to an hour, which that explains why I was able to do that. I posted a video that I didn't expect they were going to take, and then they took it, but I forgot I crossed over 10,000 followers, and that's why they did it. Because I got that status. So you get like 10-minute long videos with IGTV. And you can enact what's called a feed preview, which means Instagram will automatically take the first 60 seconds as a preview, drop it in the news feed or the home feed of Instagram so that it shows up on your profile and all that good stuff. I think I could probably do a quick little, let's just go to Instagram. Let me share my screen. Click on my profile. So notice here, there's my little ninjas. There's the IGTV icon right there. This is my profile grid. If I were to actually go to my IGTV, you would see that video right there, but notice that it's actually a full 9:16 aspect ratio. So 9 wide by 16 tall aspect ratio. That's full vertical. Portrait is what you would call it. Versus on my posts, my profile grid, they're squares. So in terms of formatting, what happens, the feed preview just takes whatever the center square is. So the center square. So if it's, I'm just going to do some numbers real quick. If it's 1080 wide by 1920 tall, the square is going to be the middle 1080 pixels. So we're just talking like design ratios or whatever. So if you want to format these things, the middle 1080 needs to be appropriately sized. I love how Tom Ferry does his. Let's look at his. Tom Ferry. So let's look for, here's an IGTV. Let's see what that, there's the little logo, but it's on his profile. Let's go to his IGTV. And there it is. See, I like this because he actually has a square and then he puts this watermark vertical behind it so that it's just ready to roll for IGTV and for Instagram. Now, watch what happens. This is just a cover image, i.e. a thumbnail. It's just a thumbnail image because you can add what's called a cover image on IGTV. If I play this, they've got it, so you got like the 4x5. They've gone 4x5 on this. Some of the older ones, they were just landscape. So like, let's go back to mine just for a quick moment. So if I go to my IGTV here, just because I'm lazy, look, it's just the horizontal, the landscape, and all you do is tilt your phone and then it goes full bleed. So I've got the, let me go back. I've got the thumbnail that makes it optimized, but then I just do the widescreen when I actually play it. I hope that makes sense. Now, quick little caveat. I want you to think about how Instagram's doing this. So they've got IGTV, which competes with YouTube. They've got Stories, which they were using to compete with Snapchat, and now they've got Reels to compete with TikTok. So just kind of pay attention to, based upon who they're probably competing with the different features, let that then determine what kind of content they probably want to see based upon the norms and culture of those different platforms. All right, let me stop my share. And let me get back to the comments and see what else we got. I'm hoping we find some good jokes in the comments. Tim, I'm counting on you, man. Hey, Tim, just real quick, was I too quick? Did the studio setup, did it translate? It was not really like, I was just kind of rigging how I showed you how to do it. But help me know if that got the point across or not. Marlene asked, our Google ads keep getting disapproved for new housing in Canada, which is going to be the same thing. It's just going to be all North America. What can we do different now? You got to read the update to personalized ads and stuff. Tim said, I've seen some good Facebook ads for best new construction or best homes and garages in my area. They've done well. Yeah, this is super smart. And in fact, I did a training on my YouTube channel and on my Instagram. Was the one I was just showing you a second ago, which is how to do carousel ads, specifically where you're featuring homes with pools, homes with garages, homes with features that consumers are desiring right now. So I would check that out. Let's keep scrolling. All right, mostly the comments are just Tim. And Tim, thank you. Yes, I got to my 10,000 followers. I appreciate it. Let me turn your comment off. Okay, going once, going twice. Any other questions? Drop them in YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. Questions going once, twice. If not, I'm going to get out of here. We're at about an hour. I appreciate you guys for hanging in there and watching. And you know what? I hope you take what you're learning in these things. I hope you're learning something first. Assuming you're learning something, I hope you take it and employ it in your business to grow it, because I see massive opportunity. I'm so happy with my coaching clients right now. I have so many coaching clients who are breaking records this year on production. So now is a good time to invest in you, in your business, and in what you're doing. All right. By the way, I got to put this up here. Tim, you're right. Reels is getting mega reach right now. I've actually made my coaching clients do Reels whether they want to or not. Because literally, I'll show you guys this, and then I'm going to get out of here. And it's going to be a little bit janky because I'm on desktop, but I hadn't done Reels in a while. I hadn't done one. And so, let's go back to my posts. And this here was the reel I did, one of the first Reels. So I want to go back to this post here, got 372 likes, a lot of reach. You can't see the reach here. This post did very well. This post got 2,000 views, did really well. Lots of likes. This post got 227 comments, huge reach. And then all of a sudden, this post only got 103 likes. Compared to, I've done posts like that before, like this one here got 220 likes. So literally it was like a 50% cut in what I was expecting. And I was like, that's weird. These posts, this type of post normally does really well. This one, 481 views. Look at this one, 2,000 views. I'm like, what is going on? This one here would have normally done well, 120 likes. Now compare it to this one here, got 367 likes. So I'm seeing a massive reduction in engagement. And I'm like, I wonder if Instagram is passive aggressively saying, we're waiting for you to do Reels. We're going to hold back until you do. So I did a Reel right here, and it did really 169 likes. It did pretty well, got a huge, the view count was enormous on it. And then all of a sudden, my likes came back. 231 likes, 1,350 views, 303 likes, 1,667 views. It all came back as soon as I did it. And so what I would say is not only, and this is somewhat just my own assumptions, which again, I'm great at making assumptions, but not only is Instagram awarding reach and engagement for Reels, I actually think they're penalizing those who aren't taking advantage of the feature right now. So that's my thought. All right, you guys are the best. Have a lovely day, a lovely rest of the week, crushing your businesses, and I'll try to do another one soon. Have a good one. See you guys.